In this new series about skills for AI engineers, we're gonna start off today by looking at why I think learning the AI engineer tech stack is gonna be very valuable, and I think these skills are gonna be highly sought after in the job market in the upcoming years. In today's episode, we will learn how to use the OpenAI API with Python. We will do 4 small projects that hopefully will start off your journey into this new exciting space. So let's just get started. We're just gonna start off with some slides that I have prepared, and then we're gonna go into the more practical side where you can follow along and do some small practice projects. So you can see I labeled this as skills for beginners because we're gonna ramp it up more over time. I want to learn other stuff too, so I'm gonna share what I am learning too. So we're gonna start off today with OpenAI or other LLMs API. This could be Claude, this could be Google, or other APIs that have large language models. But yeah, let's just start by looking at what is an AI engineer. So the definition I put down here is a software role specializing in AI and the emerging AI stack. The role of an AI engineer is evolving, demands both technical and domain-specific knowledge. Staying updated requires active involvement in communities and continuous learning because everything is changing so fast, right? If you want to be an AI engineer, you kind of have to stay updated with the latest models, what is happening in the space. And with things moving this fast, right, you kind of need to do that. And I put down like the practical approach is more beneficial than just theoretical knowledge. So you got to get in there and do stuff. And that's what we're going to focus on in this series. So we're going to do a lot of practical examples so you can just, learn from it. You can see I put down some example skills here for AI engineers. These are not set in stone, right? But I think this is a good start of things you should know about as an AI engineer. I heard this on a lot of podcasts, I did some research and stuff, so kind of knowing a bit about the AI UX, so the user experience related to AI-driven products. We also what happened with ChatGPT, right, when it kind of took the Playground API-based GPT-3 into this more UX-friendly thing that was ChatGPT, and it exploded, right? So that's a very good example of UX enhancement. AI engineers should know about coding tools like GitHub Copilot and other stuff, LLM tooling, all the large language models, right? Open source, closed source. You should know probably a bit about infrastructure and inference hardware like GPUs, clouds, clusters, but I don't think that's, maybe it's so important. RAG, retrieval augmented generation, vector databases. I think that could be very important. We're also going to take a look at that later. Fine-tuning, that can be very important going forward, and it already is maybe. And I put down building AI agents. This is more, maybe. We're going to do some narrow agents. I have a plan for that. So it's going to be interesting. And I put down plus because we don't know everything yet. And like I set down in the middle here, like you can see, it's still early. Learn today, be an expert of tomorrow, because this space is not set at all. So everything is up in the air. If you start now, you can have a head start on many people, right? But let's just move on to starting with today. So what is an API? So I put up this image here. So you can see we have the customer, we have the waiter, and we have the chef. So if we are the customer, the waiter is gonna be the API, right? It connects kind of the customer with the chef. It goes like a middleman in between, right? So the customer symbolizes the end user or the entity making the request. So that could be us. The waiter acts as an intermediary receiving the request from the customer. And the chef symbolizes like the back end processing part of the system. So in our case, we are the customer. The API is kind of the waiter, and the chef is OpenAI in this case. So the customer sends a request, the waiter API receives the request, the request is then processed in the backend by the chef, the waiter collects the response from the chef and brings it back to the customer. So that is kind of what an API is. It stands for Application Programming Interface, and this is very important to learn if we're gonna do some AI engineering, because a lot of things we're gonna do have to be put up with APIs, because you can't really run GPT-4 on your computer, right? So we have to do it through an API. You could run like Llama or other open source LLMs on your computer, but for most people, I think an API is the best way. So why is an LLM API important for an AI engineer? So I kind of put down this slogan here. So connect intelligence to every decision, every solution. What I mean by that is kind of you can try to integrate some intelligence to all your software. That could be like all your digital documents, your apps. You can see there's a very popular thing now. It's like taking your old software and like forcing some intelligence in it with adding like a GPT-4, a Claude, some other kind of Llama 2 maybe, and kind of explore more of the things you already have with forcing some intelligence into that stack. So that is interesting. So you can see I put down some points here, just plug and play. So you have quick integration when you use an API to advanced AI without needing to train any models from scratch. So you can just hook up the OpenAI API, in seconds you have access to GPT-4, which is kind of the most powerful model at this recording. It's cost efficient. I think you just pay for what you use, right? You don't need any extensive infrastructure or anything like that. It's scalable, it has continual updates, so it's easy to switch. Let's say you have an app and there comes a new model out, they release an API for it. You can just change the model to, let's say, GPT-5 instead of GPT-4. It's customizable, it's versatile, it has broad knowledge. So this is more like the foundation models, if you want to call it that. But we could see the rise of narrow models that has more narrow knowledge. It just knows about law and lawyer stuff, right? For example. And it's collaborative, and that is something I think is really important when you think about AI engineer. You can combine everything with other APIs, so you can combine GPT-4 with some other API, and from this you can create a lot of different tools, services, apps. Yeah, you get it. And I think all of this is why LLM APIs is so important for an AI engineer. It's kind of in the middle of everything now. But this could change, right? We are soon maybe gonna get large multimode and 2, 3. This could change, right? We are like kind of on the edge now to getting these LMMs or large multimodal models. Then we can start using images and stuff. So yeah, interesting times. But that is why I think these LLM APIs are so important for AI engineers. Okay, so this is the last slide before we get into the projects. I just wanted to talk a bit about why I use Python when I'm doing like this AI engineer stuff. I don't know, you don't have to use it, but for me, that's the only thing I have been using. So just a few things here. So Python is a versatile high-level programming language. It's easy to learn syntax. It's versatile, has rich libraries, a lot of libraries. Just pip install OpenAI. It's open source, continuous development, strong support for automation and scripting, yes. And it has a wide adoption in emerging fields. So pretty much every API developer now has support for Python, right? You can see in booming fields like AI, machine learning, and data science. So that is why in this series we are going to use Python. But now let's move on to our projects. The first practice project we are going to do is to create a simple chatbot with OpenAI API, ChatGPT, call it what you want. We are going to use Python. I just want to mention, like, if you haven't installed Python on your computer, there are loads of tutorial on YouTube that will help you with this quite easily. Python also has kind of this Windows installer, so it should be very easy to get set up. Maybe I will leave a link in the description, we'll see. But you should find this. I just used the newest version of Python, so nothing special there. But other than that, let's move on. So we are always going to use ChatGPT, GPT-4, or you can use GitHub Copilot if you want to do that. But I think for this project, we're going to be faster with GPT-4 or ChatGPT to create our code snippets or functions. We're going to test and improve the project or the chatbot. We're going to run it locally. And yeah, so I think that's it. So let's just get into it and see how I use ChatGPT, GPT-4 to create this project. The first thing I always do is I go to my settings down here. I find custom instructions. And for this whole series, at least for today's episode, I'm just going to be using the system prompt. You are a software developer with expertise in Python. Your task is to assist the user in creating scripts and code snippets in Python. Always think in a step-by-step way. So that is all I have for my system prompt. And then we can move on to this specific project. And I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm not going to do it in real time because it just takes a lot of time. So I have pre-done this, but it should be easy to follow along with anyway. So I just started with, I want to create a simple chatbot that I can talk to in Python using the OpenAI API with the ChatGPT model. And then I go ahead to the OpenAI website and find some documentation, because the training data for GPT-4 is not up to date with the API documentation. So it's very easy. So what I do is I just head over to OpenAI's website. I'm going to show you that now. And I paste in like some stuff here from the API documentation. And I just finish up with, can you help me? So I'm going to show you where you find that, and then we can move on. So where I find this, I just go to platformopenai.com. I click on API reference, right? I go to chat here on endpoints, the chat completion object. And I scroll down until I find create chat completion. So what I did, I just copied all of this. Remember, I selected no streaming. So I just copied all of this here, right? Go down all the way down here. Copy that. I went back to ChatGPT, pasted this documentation in here, and I finished off with, like I said, can you help me? And certainly I can help you create a simple chatbot in Python using the GPT-3 API. So we're just going to change up the model afterwards. And you can see here is our system prompt in action. So it goes step by step. So step 1, step 2, step 3, right? So step 1 is to pip install OpenAI because we need that package. It's going to import that. We need an OpenAI key. I'm going to show you where you can find that. Create a function to generate our chat response. So here it kind of create our ChatGPT function, and it's going to create a main loop. So we can go like, we don't just have one response. We can go in like a true loop until we break it. And that is basically our simple chatbot. So I'm going to show you now where you can find your API key, because we need that for all these projects. So over on GPT-4's website, you can just click on, you have to have an account, right? You can click on personal and view API keys. And here you can see my key here. The key I'm going to be using in this video, I'm going to remove it. So there's no point trying to use my key. But yeah, just create a secret key, copy that, and use it in these projects. So let's go back here because, so I just went, I kind of want to print the full code, so I can just copy it. Certainly, below is the full Python code for creating a simple chatbot using OpenAI's GPT API. Make sure to replace your API key. Yes, good. Okay, so we just copied that. In my case, I just use Notepad for creating my codes, my Python code. But this is mostly because I think it looks better on video. You can use Visual Studio. You can use Jupyter, you can use Anaconda, you can use, yeah, whatever you want to kind of write your code. But I like to use this because I think it looks good on video and it's quite easy to see, right? So that is basically it. Just use what you like to use. So we pasted in our code here, right? So you can see, initialize the OpenAI key. So I pasted the OpenAI key in here. We have our function chat with GPT-3. Don't mind, it's just GPT-3. You can change this if you want to. But here you can see I did something because we had like the model we had here was Text DaVinci 002. But I want to use the GPT-3 Turbo model. So I changed that up. And that is basically all we have for now. So I think we can just run it and see if this works. Okay, so I just went ahead, I opened a PowerShell terminal, so now we are ready to try this. So I just go Python, chatbot, right, .py. Okay, chatbot initialized, type quit to exit. This is just to break the loop, so we can go hello. Hello, how can I assist you today? Okay, so I just go, I want 3 tips to improve my Python skills. Okay, so like now we are clicking, we are sending our request to via the API to GPT or ChatGPT 3.5. we get the response back, and we print it, right? Okay, so we had 3 tips: practice regularly, read and study Python, collaborate and seek feedback. But we have a problem now. I don't think we have stored this anyway. So if I go like, great, can you elaborate more on tip 1, right? So that's practice regularly. I don't think this can remember tip 1 now because we haven't saved it anywhere. So, of course, tip 1 is all about setting specific goals. No, you can see tip 1 was practice regularly. So I think we need to iterate on that to have somewhere to store, so we can have like a conclusive conversation, like an ingoing conversation, because we don't want one-on-one request, right? We need the chatbot to remember what we said earlier in the conversation. So we can just do quit. Okay, so we break the loop, goodbye, clear this, and let's go back to ChatGPT. So how I want to kind of store this, I want to store the previous interactions into a conversation list. So this is just a simple way to maintain a list of messages that can be extended each time a new message is entered. So the list can be passed out for a new interaction, allowing the model to consider previous interactions when generating its next response. So again, initialize the conversation list, update the function, and update the main loop. And we get a full code again, so we can just copy that. You can see now we have kind of this conversation list here. It kind of saves our previous outputs. So let's just copy that, go back to our code here and try it out. Okay, so now we can see here is our list, conversation list. Basically everything is the same. We have the same model, and we have some append here, but basically it's almost the same. Only change is that we're gonna store the conversation. So let's try it now, do the same thing. So let's open here, let's go Python chatbot.py. Okay, hello, I want 3 tips to improve my Python skills. So we're gonna see now if the chatbot can remember our previous input and output, right? So practice regularly. Let's say, can you elaborate on tip number, let's do tip number 2 this time. So hopefully now it will elaborate on read and analyze code, right? It should work. I think so. I hope so. Okay, so you can see certainly tip number 2 suggests reading and analyzing code written by others means to improve Python skills. Here is an elaboration on this tip. Yeah, so we got 4 more and some other stuff here about improving how we can read and analyze code. So you can see this is working now. So we can quit. And I think that's it for this small project. We have kind of created this chatbot here that is working quite well. And we have implemented some iterations that kind of made it so we can have like a conversation that it remembers our previous inputs. So yeah, pretty simple, but quite powerful, to be honest. And we didn't go into this now, but you can see here is kind of the system prompt for a chatbot. We can change up this. I'm not going to go into this now, but in the later episodes, we are going to look at this. But yeah, I think we're just going to end it there and move on to project number 2. And that is going to be to chain prompts with the OpenAI API for automation of a task. Again, we are going to use Python. We are going to use ChatGPT, GPT-4, as we did in the previous projects, to help us write the code, just to save time. Find a use case. So I already made up one. We are going to just take an article from somewhere, and we're going to do some kind of automation that can turn that article into a summary, into a tweet, and into hashtags for a tweet. So it's going to be a chain that is kind of automated to produce 3 different things from that article. We're going to test it, maybe improve it. We're going to run it locally. And yeah, we're going to save it to a text file. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's just head over to ChatGPT and try to solve this project. The only thing we kind of need here for this project is to have a function that can take a prompt as an input So I just went, I need an OpenAI GPT function that takes a prompt as an input. Can you help? Certainly. Okay, so step one, we're gonna pip install OpenAI. We're gonna import the packages. We're gonna need our API key as we already have. And then it's just to create a function. So it's gonna be called fetch GPT response. Yeah, pretty straightforward. This is like, maybe I think this is the easiest way you can use a GPT API call. So we have prompt equals prompt. So that is gonna be our input. And we have an example here. I'm going to alter this a bit. I'm going to show you. So I went ahead, I copied this, and let's go back to the notepad. Okay, so here you see it. You can see I made some changes here. I added to import, so OS, so I think it's operative system, because I want to be able to open some files from our computer and save some files to our file path. So you can just copy this if you want to. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just open a file and save a file. You can just ask GPT to create these two functions for you too if you want to. You can change it up a bit here. So I wanted to make a variable of our API key. So we can use this OpenAI file function here and just save the same API key we used in our previous project just in a text file. So if you don't want to display it here. And then we have our fetch GPT response function. For this, we're just going to stick with the DaVinci 003 model. This works great for tasks like this. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And we have, the first thing you have is a variable called word1. Here is where we're going to paste in our article. So this is a text file called input.txt. So let's head over and find, I think I found this article here. So it's OpenAI forms team to study catastrophic AI risk, including nuclear threats. So this was written today. So I just went ahead, I copied all of this text here and I pasted it into a text file. Let me just open that. So here you can see input.txt. Here is basically the article I just copied from the web. And if we go further down here, so you can see we start with the word one. So this is going to open the file, input text, right? And here is our three chains. So we have chain 1, chain 2, and chain 3. So I'm going to try to go through this just pretty simple to explain how this chain works. It is pretty straightforward. So we have a variable called word2. This is going to open a text file called prompt.txt. So let's look at that. Write an in-depth and very detailed summary of the following text. And here you can see we have a placeholder called blog. So this is where our article is going to be fed into. Just to repeat this, write a detailed summary from the text above. Okay, very simple prompt. You can see here is the placeholder. So we're going to replace this placeholder with the contents of the variable word1. That is our article, right? Okay, yeah, that is basically the first chain. And this is going to be saved to a text file called summary.txt. On the second chain, we're going to open a new prompt that is called write a Twitter post of the following text. We have a new placeholder, TWT, that is going to take the previous summary into this. This is going to put the summary of the article in here. And from that, we are going to write a tweet that is going to be saved to twitter.txt. And in our final and third chain, we're going to open a prompt.txt. So this is going to brainstorm 5 hashtags to the following Twitter post. So this placeholder is going to store our Twitter post. And it's going to be printed as hashtags.txt. So this is kind of the chain I choose here. So this means we are going to be pretty quick in creating a summary, a tweet, and some hashtags. And that is basically what we want to do. You can add as many chains as you want here. There are a lot of different stuffs you can do with this, of course. But let's just run it and check out the result. We're just going to go Python chain.py. So this should be pretty quick, right? Hands off, we don't have to do anything. All is set up. The only thing we have to do is change up the input text. So we can do another different article if you want to. So you can see we have the summary here of the The summary is all the way down. Yeah, it's a bit messy, but all the way down here. So this is the summary of the article. This is the tweet. We are thrilled to announce the launch of Preparedness, a new OpenAI team led by Alexander Madry. Okay. And the hashtags it suggests is risk mitigation, AI initiative, big data innovation. Not the best. But you can see this was very quick and kind of automated. So if we go into our folder now, I'm going to show you that these are saved to text files. So you can see here we have the summary, right? We have the Twitter post. You can see this also has some hashtags, so maybe we didn't need that. And we have the hashtags. So everything was saved, ready to use. Perfect. That is exactly how I intended this. So yeah, a lot of use cases to automate different tasks by using this chaining of different prompts. So we do one completion into another thing, into another completion. Yeah, you can experiment this as you want to. I just think it's a nice thing to learn a bit more about how you can use the GPT API. But I think that's it for project 2. So let's check out 3. In project 3, we are gonna use OpenAI's Whisper API to transcribe an MP3 audio file over to text. So basically speech to text. Again, we're gonna use Python. We're gonna use ChatGPT, GPT-4 to help us create the code. I have found an MP3 file and we're gonna test and improve and run it. This is a very simple snippet of code, but it's very powerful. You can use it a lot of different use cases to transcribe any. It doesn't have to be MP3, it could be other audio files too. So yeah, very simple to use, but very powerful. And yeah, let's just give it a shot. Okay, so here we are gonna do something similar as we did in our first project. I'm just gonna start. I want to create a simple transcript script in Python with the OpenAI Whisper API. Here are some documentation from the API. Okay, same as before, we go to the OpenAI homepage. I click on API reference. I click on endpoints or audio here. I just copy, create transcription all the way down here. Copy that, create transcription, go back here and I paste it in below here and I just go, can you help me? Perfect. Certainly, I'm happy to help you create a simple Python script to transcribe audio using the OpenAI Whisper API. So make sure you have installed, pip install, steps to create the script, import OpenAI. We're gonna load an audio file. So here we have to set our path. I'm gonna show you that. Transcribe the audio, very simple line here. Print it. Here is the complete script. Look at how few lines this is. But we need to set the API key too. So I just went ahead. I went down here. So because we need our API key, this is the full thing we need. Copy this code, go to our notepad and paste it in. I filled out my API key here. I filled in my path. So remember to use forward slashes here instead of backward slash. I don't know. That's just my experience. And here I named our MP3 file aieng.mp3. You can see we are using Whisper 1 model. I haven't tried any other models. I don't think there are any other models. Okay, so this wasn't supposed to be here. So I'm just going to remove this for now. Save it. That's an iteration I was going to show you. But anyway, that is basically, look how small this is, but it's still very powerful. So remember, we have our MP3 file in this folder. So if we go to our API folder here, you can see we have the MP3 file here. Perfect. Go back to our terminal, Python, Whisper, was it? .py. Give this 10 seconds maybe. I don't know. Shouldn't take too long. I also gotta say, this is a very good transcription API. I think it's gotta be one of the best there. Yeah, you can see. How quick was that? So here is all the text from that MP3 file. I'm not gonna play it, but trust me, this is very good. Very good. So that was very simple. The only thing now is that, but I wanted to iterate on that. We don't have it saved anywhere. So I I also want to save the transcript to a text file, because if I'm going to use it now, I can just copy it, but it could be nice to save it. So I just went to, save this to a text file, same as before. So GPT here, just create a save file function, or an open or write function, I should call it, for us. Integrate it into the script. So just copy that, go back here and paste it in. Transcription 2.text. Okay. So we can try to run it again. Hopefully now this translation or transcription from our MP3 file is gonna be saved to a text file that is called transcription2.text. And what I'm not gonna do in this video is that now we can start piling all other stuff. We can pile on our first chatbot function here, our chain function, so kind of remember our input text file. So now this transcription text file could be our input text file. That means we can create a summary, a tweet, and some hashtags from the audio transcription. So you can kind of see what's starting to happen, how we can AI engineer this, chain this with different APIs and tools to create something cool and very automation focused. Okay, so this has run now. Let's see if this was saved. Let's update this, transcription2.text. Perfect. So here we have it, the full transcription saved. Yeah, we can now work more on it if we wanted to do that. So again, very simple line of code, but very powerful. And again, has to be one of the best transcription APIs out there, at least in this recording. But that was simple project 3, very easy to solve. Now let's move on to number 4 and our final project. And that is going to be to use the DALL-E API to create an image. This unfortunately only has a DALL-E 2, but I am expecting DALL-E 3 soon to arrive here for the API. But for now, we're just going to have to stick with DALL-E 2. But I think it's going to be basically the same, other than we maybe can pick DALL-E 3 in the future. I'm going to do an update on that. Again, we're going to use Python, ChatGPT GPT to help us save the time. Make up just an image prompt, test it, maybe improve it, run it locally. So this is going to be, again, very simple, but it could, be very interesting. At least combining this with the hopefully upcoming multilingual GPT Vision API that hopefully we will get soon. But yeah, let's just do this. Again, it's gonna be pretty similar as our previous project. I want to create a Python script that can create images with the OpenAI API. Here are some information from the documentation. Again, we go back to homepage, we go to API reference, we go down to images, create image. So this is DALL-E. We're just gonna copy this, right? Copy that, go to ChatGPT again, paste in some information from the API documentation and go, can you help me? And we get a step-by-step list on how to do this. Pip install OpenAI, and we get the full Python script. So this even has a function that downloads the image, because we only get a URL that you can go to. But here we have integrated a function that downloads the image, saves it to our file path. Yeah, I like that. Again, we have to put in our API key. We have a generate image function. Yeah, that is basically it. Copy that, and let's go back to our notepad. Okay, so I pasted this in. I did a few changes here. I wanted to use the open file function we've used in the previous project to open our API key. So I just brought that in here so we can open that. I set it to 1 image. The size I just kept as is. Download the image, just kept that as is. But I replaced the prompt, and I think this was to generate 2 images, but I just saved it to 1. You can set this to many images as you want. Let's try to set it to 2 now. And I went with the prompt, a cute superhero cat. So you can see, replace this with your desired prompt. And that is all. You don't need any more than this. Requests, OS OpenAI. Yeah, that is the whole script we need to create images using an API. So let me head over to the terminal here. Let's clear the previous one. Python, I think I was image.py. So remember, image.py. So remember, now we want 2 images of a cute superhero cat saved to our folder. Nothing's gonna come up here. It's gonna use our download image function here to save the images straight to our folder. So you can see it's complete now, and let's take a look. Okay. All right. This was bad. This was better. So you can see there are kind of 2 superhero cats, but I can just envision this with DALL-E 3. It's gonna be much better. So kind of excited for that. It opens us up a whole lot of use cases. So yeah, pretty simple project, but quite interesting. A lot of use cases for this, at least coming up, I think, with more powerful image generators. But again, very simple. We can get help from GPT-4 to create this project. So I guess we spent 5 minutes on creating this, max. So yeah, cool project and quite a cool result. If you made it all the way here, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just the first episode of a lot of this I'm gonna be doing going forward. It's mostly for hoping that people will get interested in this, but it's also for me to learn more advanced stuff as we go along. So hopefully I can bring you along with me if you want to learn this stuff. I think this is well spent time learning. Just some things here from the OpenAI APIs we use today. In the blue, we can see we use the GPT API, we use the DALL-E and the Whisper. We did not use the ADA API or the LLM large multimodal model APIs. I hope is coming soon. I'm not sure, but that is going to be like the GPT vision model. So very excited for that. That means we have some more to cover from the OpenAI APIs. But if we go back to kind of this image here, so example skills for AI engineers, you can see we have a lot more to cover here. I'm going to do RAG, I'm going to do fine-tuning, building agents, looking at tooling, coding tools, and a whole lot of different use cases, scaling from kind of to beginner up to my level of what I know. So it's going to be exciting, and hopefully you will follow along with this series. As I said in the beginning, we're going to start off easy for beginners just to get the foundations, and then hopefully you can learn along with me as we provide more into advanced stuff going forward. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you want to learn more about AI engineering. I think it could be well spent. Have a great day. Hopefully I see you again in the next one, and bye bye.